Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala Nabi Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And good morning, Instagram fam, friends and followers of as-Saafiy. Just wanted to jump on this morning. I know it's been a long time since we came on Instagram and did anything in the mornings. And I hate the fact that my schedule just made it very difficult to continue the reflections the way that we were doing previously. And it is my hope that my schedule will adjust itself so that we can resume those morning reflections. But that being said, I wanted to jump on this morning because I've been asked by quite a few people about decorating homes and decorating the masajid to mark the coming of Ramadan and to show our joy, our excitement, and to just be, to basically be festive in the month of Ramadan. So people are asking me about whether or not it's permissible to decorate our homes for that, and whether or not it's also permissible to decorate the masajid, whether internally or externally with lights and other decorations. And so I want to jump on real quick because it's been a question that quite a few people have asked me. I figure that it might be on the mind of others who may watch us here or get us on Facebook, etc. And so I just figured we'd say a few words on this subject. So first of all, with respect to decorating homes to mark the coming of Ramadan or to show our joy and excitement for Ramadan, or to be festive throughout the month of Ramadan and to basically create a festive atmosphere during the month of Ramadan. The scholars of Islam generally have referred to that as a matter of personal choice. And there is no specific ruling from the religion regarding it. And they therefore basically say that since the Sharia has not given us a specific ruling, it is a matter of personal choice and people are free to do that. And we could even argue, especially in some environments like here in the West, it may be encouraged because we want to send the subliminal message to our kids that Ramadan is a big deal. And it's such a big deal that we do things differently, including decorating our homes appropriately for the season. And so for that reason, we would say that decorating the homes, again, it's not something our religion has spoken about. And therefore, the scholars have categorized it as something to be from what they call al-adat, from customs and traditions and things where the Sharia, the Islamic law, has been quiet. And if it's been quiet, that means that people are free to do whatever they choose to do and make that personal choice, provided that they remain within the guidelines of Islam. And that would include making sure that whatever we're doing, we don't believe or consider it to be something from al-ibadat, something that we're going to be rewarded for, that we don't believe and allow ourselves to believe or give the impression that this is something that we're encouraged to do religiously and will be rewarded in exchange for what we're doing. So we can't allow that to enter our mind, nor can we give that impression to others. The second thing that's important for us to do as far as guidelines that we need to remain within is that we need to make sure that we're not doing things which are specific to the non-Muslims, specific to their traditions when it comes to decorating their homes during their holidays and celebrations. And so we need to make sure that we're not imitating them in a way that our religion would not permit or would frown upon. And we do know that our religion frowns upon Muslims imitating the non-Muslims in things which are specific to their religious traditions, etc., and by which they are recognized and which are associated with them and with their religious beliefs. As the Prophet said in the hadith, وَمَنْ تَشَبَّهَ بِقَوْمٍ فَهُوَ مِنْهُمْ. Whoever imitates a people, then he is from them. And in a number of his hadith, he would preface them by saying, خَالِفُ الْيُهُودَ وَالنَّصَارَى, be different from the Jews and Christians. خَالِفُ الْمَجُوسِ, be different from the fire worshippers. Khalifu al-mushrikeen, be different from the pagans. So it's important for the Muslim to always maintain the integrity of his religion and to project an identity which is uniquely and distinctly Muslim. And so therefore, we don't want to decorate our homes in a way that makes people think that we're something other than Muslims or that we're imitating the traditions of the people of other faiths. That being said, now we come to the masajid. And I want to preface the comments on the masajid, decorating the masajid for Ramadan or during Ramadan, or during the festivals of Eid. It's important for us to realize that when we do anything related to the masjid, we're entering to the realm of ibadah. We're entering the realm of worship. We're entering into the realm where the Sharia, where the Islamic law, rules the day and has the final say. And so therefore, we have to be much more careful when it comes to what we do in the masajid than we are in terms of what we do in our homes. In our homes, we could argue, al-asl fima na'mal fi buyutina al-hillu wal-ibaha, that the original rule, the point of departure, the basic rule of thumb is that whatever we do in our homes is permissible until proven impermissible. But when it comes to the masajid, it's the opposite. That whatever we do in the masajid is impermissible unless it's proven permissible. And so we have to kind of calibrate our thinking as we approach what we're going to do in the masajid. And the general thing that the scholars have said, the overwhelming majority of the scholars throughout the history of Islam, they have said that when it comes to the masajid and decorating the masajid, during the month of Ramadan, during the festivals of Eid, and beyond that, just throughout the year, is that they have disapproved of it. They have disapproved of that, and they've done so from a number of different angles, or they base that ruling of disapproval on a number of different points. So the first point is what they would refer to as a sunnah at-tarkiyah, the sunnah of abandonment, the sunnah of leaving. And basically they say that, as Ibn al-Qayyim mentioned and as-Saafiy mentioned, there's a principle that basically says, ma fa'alahu an-nabi sallallahu sunnah, wa ma tarakahu an-nabiy, ma fa'alahu an-nabiy fa fi'luhu sunnah, wa ma tarakahu an-nabiy sallallahu fa tarkuhu sunnah. That whatever the Prophet did, doing that is a sunnah. And whatever the Prophet intentionally abandoned when it came to worship and things related to the religion, then leaving that is also the sunnah. And so basically, this is a principle in our religion. And so now when it comes to decorating the masajid, the Prophet never did that during Ramadan or beyond Ramadan, as we're going to see, or outside of Ramadan, in Ramadan or outside of Ramadan. And his khulafa ar-rashidin, the ones about whom he said, alaykum bi sunnati wa sunnati al-khulafa ar-rashidin al-mahdi min ba'di. He said, follow my sunnah and the sunnah of my rightly guided caliphs. Follow them. They are an example for you. They are a role model for you. They also didn't beautify and embellish or decorate the masajid in Ramadan or outside of Ramadan. And then those who followed them from what we call al-Qurun al-Mufaddala, the golden age of Islam, the golden era of Islam, the A'immah, the great imams and scholars of Islam that we look up to and say that they are the gold standard, they also didn't do this. And this is something that happened or began to be introduced into the religion far after that period, or long after that period. And so one of the points that the scholars point to say this is something that we shouldn't do in Ramadan or outside of Ramadan is the fact that it's unprecedented. It's not something that was done by the people who are the gold standard of what Islam is supposed to be and what Islamic practice is supposed to look like. So that's number one. Number two is that, generally speaking, adorning, decorating the masajid beyond what is customary and necessary is something which is prohibited in Islam. And this is something which is mentioned and explicitly mentioned by the scholars of the madhahib, the leading scholars of the four schools of thought. The leading scholars of the four schools of thought, regardless of your school of thought, people will say, well, that's your position. That's the position of the school of thought or the madhab that you follow. No. All four schools of thought have leading scholars who have said this is not appropriate according to what? According to their school of thought, and just broadly Islamically, it's not appropriate. So for example, and I want to mention that the scholars of Islam who have explicitly mentioned that it's not permissible to adorn, to decorate the masajid beyond, beautify the masajid beyond what is customary and necessary, they include in that the writing of Quranic verses on the walls of the masajid and the names of Allah on the walls of the masajid. This is very, very important. We need to understand that they have counted that as an inappropriate and unacceptable form of beautifying the masajid. So, for example, I'll quote from Al-Imam Ibn al-Hammam al-Hanafi. Ibn al-Hammam al-Hanafi, he has a quote in which he said, تكره كتابة الآيات القرآنية وأسماء الله وصفاته على الدراهم والمحاريب والجدران وما يفرش. He said it's impermissible to write the verses of the Quran and the names of Allah and His attributes on coins, on the niches in the masajid, on the walls of masajid and other walls. And he said it's also impermissible to write it on carpetings and rugs. And something similar was said by Al-Hafidh al-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala. So these are two examples, and Nawawi being, of course, Shafi'i al-Madhab. He's from the Madhab of Imam al-Shafi'i rahimahullah ta'ala. These are two examples of imams of these different madhahib who held the position it's not permissible, it's disapproved that we would beautify the masajid even with Quranic verses, whether in Ramadan or outside of Ramadan. A third point that the scholars have mentioned to say it's disapproved of doing this, beautifying the Qurans, beautifying the masajid, decorating the masajid, adorning the masajid, whether in Ramadan or outside of Ramadan, is they say that this involves or entails resembling the non-Muslims, because this is what they do in their churches and this is what they do in their synagogues. It involves resembling them, and the Muslims are prohibited from resembling them, right? And what else? Last but not least, they mention that when we add these lights that we use to beautify the masajid, and we add these different things to the masajid to beautify the masajid, they say that this involves or entails al-israf, extravagance and wasteful spending and squandering of resources. And this is not permissible in our religion, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا تُبَذِّرْ تَبْذِيرًا إِنَّ الْمُبَذِّرِينَ كَانُوا إِخْوَانَ الشَّيَاطِينَ. He says, and do not squander wastefully. Do not squander resources wastefully. Do not squander anything wastefully. Indeed, those who wastefully squander and engage in extravagance are the brothers of the shayateen. They're the brothers of the devils, clearly indicating the prohibition of doing so. And I want to mention before, so the scholars of Islam have mentioned these 4 points to support the prohibition of decorating the masajid, whether in Ramadan or outside of Ramadan. The first one is the sunnah of abandonment. The Prophet never did it. His companions didn't do it. The best of the Muslims didn't do it. Next, it is prohibited to embellish and adorn and deck out the masajid beyond what is required. We mentioned some of the scholars of the madhahib al-arba' of the 4 schools of thought who said that. This is, and I just want to say this too, that position of the scholars of the madhahib is supported by a hadith of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So for example, Ibn Abbas, he quoted the Prophet as saying, ما أمرت بتشييد المساجد. I have not been sent, I have not been commanded to adorn or deck out the masajid. While the Prophet saying that means this is not from my guidance. I have not come with that. If a person does that, they're not following my guidance. And then Ibn Abbas, he comments on that hadith and explains what the Prophet meant, or explains what we should understand from that statement of the Prophet. He said, لَتُزَخْرِفُنَّهَا كَمَا زَخْرَفَتِ الْيَهُودُ وَالنَّصَارَى. He said, you people will over-decorate, will over-embellish, over-deck out your masajid, just like the Jews and Christians did with their masajid or with their houses of worship. And so he's clearly explaining that this is what the Prophet meant, going above and beyond what is necessary and customary in decorating the masajid. Then we also have the statement or the hadith which Anas reported, where the Prophet said, لا تقوم الساعة حتى يتباهى الناس بالمساجد or fil masajid. He said that the hour will not be established until some people flaunt and boast about their lavishly decorated mosque. The mosque becomes a conversation piece. Oh, look at this and look at that. And we see that nowadays. We go to the masajid where they have these very expensive tiles where the names and attributes of Allah are engraved in those tiles and put on the walls. And it's also important to note that one of the reasons why the scholars prohibit this is because it's distracting. People will come for prayer, and the masjid is so beautiful that they're distracted by its beauty, distracted by its decorations, and they can't concentrate. And the purpose of coming to the masjid is not to come to a place like it's a museum and with full of exhibits that we marvel over. We're supposed to come and pray and focus on our prayer. That being said, so there's these 4 points, just to round out everything. 4 points that the scholars have mentioned. A sunnah tarkiyah, the sunnah of abandonment. The Prophet didn't do it, his companions didn't do it, the early Muslims didn't do it, who are the ones who are the gold standard. Number 2, this tazyeen wa zakhrafat al-masajid is mamnu'a, it's prohibited. That we over-embellish and over-decorate and deck out the masajid is something prohibited by the Prophet from his own words. And the way that the scholars of the madhahib have understood it is it's not allowed. We shouldn't be doing it. And that includes the Quran, writing the Quran on the walls of the masajid, and also the names of Allah on the walls of the masajid. And then also it involves or entails resembling the non-Muslims in a way which is prohibited. And last but not least, it involves the waste of money, the waste of resources, which Muslims are prohibited from doing. So I hope that you found this video helpful, as we are on the precipice of Dukhul Shahr Ramadan, of the coming or the arrival of the month of Ramadan. And we're all looking forward to it. We're all excited, and we want to express our excitement, but we also want to do that in a way which is appropriate and acceptable and permitted by our religion. And so I hope this video helps us to do that, to have a great Ramadan. And again, just to recap, it's fine for homes as long as we don't violate those 2 conditions that we talked about earlier. And in the masajid, it should not be done. It should not be done in the masajid. And one last point. I know that some masajid, Islamic centers in this country, they consist of a musalla, a prayer hall, maybe for men and women. And then they have adjacent rooms. They have classrooms, where they do, like, for example, weekend Islamic school, or they have, like, for example, a conference room where they conduct meetings. They might have the imam's office. These are not necessarily considered the masjid. And so if you have, for example, weekend Islamic school, and those people in the school want to let the kids decorate their classroom, we would not apply the same ruling to that as we would to the masjid proper. But again, we need to be mindful, be careful, be vigilant regarding the hudud of Allah, the boundaries of Allah, and not transgress those boundaries. And we need to err on the side of caution. If we're not sure, just err on the side of caution. This is what our religion teaches us, as the Prophet said in the hadith of Nu'man, إِنَّ الْحَلَالَ بَيِّن وَإِنَّ الْحَرَامَ بَيِّن وَبَيْنَهُمَا أُمُورٌ مُشْتَبِهَاتٌ لَا يَعْلَمُهُنَّ كَثِيرٌ مِنَ النَّاسِ فَمَنِ اتَّقَى الشُّبُهَاتِ اسْتَبْرَأَ لِدِينِهِ وَإِرْضِهِ. He said, the lawful is clear, the unlawful is clear, and between the 2 of them, there are some matters which are unclear. They're vague. And many people don't know the ruling concerning those. So when it comes to those matters, the one who avoids them, who errs on the side of caution and avoids them, will safeguard his religion and his good reputation. But the one who says it ain't haram and does it anyway will ultimately fall into the haram. If he goes ahead and entertains and entangles himself in those doubtful matters, ultimately he'll find himself doing haram things. And so we should avoid the doubtful matters, as the Prophet said in the hadith, "Da'ma yaribuk ila ma la yaribuk." I've talked too much. He said, leave what makes you doubt for that which does not make you doubt. I've talked too much. I hope this video was helpful. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from those who benefit from the talk and follow the best of it. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us all from those who benefit from this Ramadan and are blessed in this Ramadan. Ameen, ameen, ya rabbal alameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala nabi Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.